Hi, welcome. It is Sunday, February 12th, and actually it's appropriate that it is Sunday because I want to follow up a little bit on what Heather was talking about in terms of the Sabbath several days ago. And here we are, the day of rest, and for us as Christians, really the first day. And I want to talk about that specifically as it relates to chapters 35 and 36, our readings for today, because we see in these readings both a time of rest and then a great deal of work. And there are actually some similarities in that. There's a rhythm to this that I started as I was studying to find very interesting. And the first thing I would point out, or maybe kind of offer to you, is that when we think of the Sabbath, we can start back at the beginning when God said, "You shall work 6 days and rest one." And we know that that's how the week of creation took place. And we also know that, of course, He's God. He doesn't really need to rest. What's interesting is if you think about it, though, God worked for 6 days. At the end of the sixth day, He creates Adam and Eve. And then He rests. Well, that first day for Adam and Eve was really that rest day. So in Adam and Eve's mind, they start off resting in God and in their relationship with Him. And then after that, they begin their week of work. Well, today in our reading, we find kind of that same thing in that Moses gives God's command to the people that they are to rest and one day. And he begins chapter 35 that way. And in that day, they rest, and God has commanded it. And then following that, there is work to be done on building the tabernacle. And if you read through the rest of chapters 35 and 36, you see a great deal of energy by the people in this building as artisans are commissioned and put to work, and as people contribute all sorts of jewelry, gold, silver, linens, and cloth, and yarns, and whatever is needed to make everything that goes into it. And as a matter of fact, in chapter 36, there's a point at which there were more than enough contributions, and so the word went out that we don't need any more. And I find that really refreshing. The people begin with this sense of resting in God, and then they go off to do the work. And when I look at those two, what I find the similarity to be that our rest in the Lord begins with Him and His Word as He commands us. Our work in the Lord begins with Him and the Word that came to the people and commanded them. And what a great vision or picture for our lives together on a daily basis. We begin with our day of resting, and this resting also points ahead to the redemptive work of Jesus Christ, where Jesus is the Lord of the Sabbath. Jesus is the one that is really being pointed to here as someone who will be our rest, who takes care of all of the work. In creation, it was all the work that went into making everything. In Jesus, it is all of that redemptive work that He did on our behalf all the way to the cross. And ultimately, in His Spirit, it is that restorative work that goes on in us. God has taken care of all the heavy lifting. And for us, He offers us the opportunity then over the next 6 days in our weeks to be able to celebrate, to be in His presence, and to do the work that He gives us, knowing that He has already provided everything that is needed. And so that's a good rhythm for us to maybe not only start each week with, but start each day with, and to remember in our lives that we find our rest in Him. He has done the work. He has saved us. He is restoring us, and ultimately, upon that day when we enter that new kingdom, we will find that we are fully restored again. And so remember the idea of resting and then working as you think about your week, and begin with the Lord, and then after that, as you remember all He has done for you, go out the rest of the week and work. I think the example here is that when we do that, we will accomplish in Christ a great deal. In fact, when the church does that, when the people of God begin with the Lord and then go off to do the work that He gives them, the contributions will overflow, and the church will be used by God to do some exciting and wonderful things. And that's my prayer for today, and I pray that you will find your rest in the Lord, and then you will enjoy the work that He gives you throughout the coming week. See you later.